you're here again with Jenny, and welcome to this podcast. This podcast is looking at the Mars retrograde in Gemini cycle, and it's particularly looking at it in relation to galactic star points that are activated. I will have another video on the regular Mars retrograde, but this is particularly focused on galactic star points. So let's get going on this cosmic journey. Mars is turning retrograde at the end of October. It's right around 25 degrees of Gemini. This is heralding the start of a number of months with Mars contemplating its navel. More of an inward focus rather than an external go, go, go kind of vibe happening. So for those of you who are Starseeds and Lightworkers, you might be interested to learn that this particular Mars retrograde in Gemini is commencing directly conjunct the Orion Nebula. And this tells me a couple of things, really. So I just wanted to explore it and share what I've been contemplating regarding this particular significant moment. It's the last time that Mars went retrograde in Gemini at 25 degrees, but I suspect it was an awful long time ago. So that tells me that as a collective, humanity is ready to come online in some new way regarding its own ascension, growth, evolution. So for us individually, I would consider this to be a signature where if you have a connection to Orion, if you have an interest in that star system, you may receive some insights during that time. And as I said, it's happening directly at the end of October. But even right now, I'm recording this 2 weeks earlier than that. Even right now, Mars is moving so incredibly slowly that it's sort of sitting almost on top of this particular astrological point. So it's sitting and not really moving. And then at the end of the month, it will go retrograde. It will then follow a journey right back through Gemini, and then at one point it will turn around and go back the other direction to encounter this particular point one more time. So that means for all of us, this tells me that we've got multiple activations happening, and in essence it's creating a flavour which is going to be with all of us, with the whole collective on planet over the next 6 months, basically. People who have an individual connection to the Orion star system may suddenly begin to have new ideas arise in their consciousness. They may encounter dreams or even just that sense of knowing. There can be memories that come up of your own galactic history. For those who are believers in the concept of the Orion Wars, then memories of your role or observation of that time period could come into your consciousness. And I would suggest that if you're not quite sure how to make sense of it, that you do consider reaching out for help to help you process it. The other reason why I say that is that Mars is also from mid-October in square to Neptune, and part of that signature can be where you're not quite sure what is the truth and what's an illusion, what is a delusion, what is a mystical experience, because fantastic acts of imagination, inspiration, connection to the divine, connection to source can absolutely occur. So if Mars is connecting to Neptune, then that would be kind of putting action towards any of those things. So it's a great time for creativity. But the flip side of it is that sometimes the shadow material can show up as where you're being duped or somebody's not telling you the truth and you don't realise that. So the reason why I say that if you are having memories of contact or connection with Orion star systems, then you may need assistance to actually unpack, what is true here, what isn't true, how do I make sense of it? All that sort of stuff can be quite a little bit fuzzy, a little bit not quite clear because Neptune's involved. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I see this connection with the Orion Nebula as, for sure, it's a portal, or some might say a gateway, or others might say a stargate. I don't mind which language you use to understand it, but it is considered a moment in time and space where you can actually jump from one galaxy to another, from one star system to another. Like, it's got this really quantum, beyond time and space concept of jumping into one reality into another reality, into the multiverse, into multigalactic, intergalactic, etc., etc. You get the idea. And so that's opening in a really massive way for the whole of humanity. And I've been contemplating what that might mean for those who are awake or on the ascension path, or traveling the spiritual development, having spiritual awakenings, and also for those who aren't. I wonder what that might mean. So one of the thoughts I had is that, potentially at this time, it could be a catalyst for people who currently are very caught in the 3D matrix, and, the people who believe everything they see on TV and what the government say, etc. People who aren't looking at how society operates from outside of it, like with an external kind of critical discernment viewpoint. And I'm just wondering if some of these people might actually be activated in some way. This Orion Nebula is so powerful and just involves, nomadic gypsies, right? Jumping from one timeline to another, jumping from one multiverse to another, intergalactic travel. I'm just wondering, I'm not suggesting that ETs are going to come down at this moment between mid-October and, over the next few months. I'm not suggesting that something like that will happen, but I'm thinking more in terms of consciousness. So I guess we'll have to watch this space and see what does emerge. It could well be a fabulous opportunity for more and more people to start to wake up and to question, really get into understanding how they're co-creating and what their frequency is, and taking real steps to raise their frequency and be operating on higher vibrations. So let's see what happens. I have a final remark for you too. When I was talking about the Orion Nebula being activated, I want to be clear that this is not an activation that occurs over 1, 2, 3 days. This is a much broader time frame. So this portal, which has been activated in October, is active and open and interchanging through the whole of October and November. And then again in 2023, it'll be open from mid-February right the way through to mid-April. These are large spans of time that I'm speaking about here. Simultaneously, for these activation points with the Orion Nebula, the Galactic Center is equally being activated. And although it's not the focus of this particular astrological conversation, it's nice for you to be aware that the Galactic Center is activated during these same time frames. Thanks so much for joining me today for this little conversation about galactic stars. I would love it if you made a comment below. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll be notified next time I load a video or podcast up. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.